To deliver the next speech titled 5 Ingredients of the Secret Sauce on Innovation, let me invite Mr. Sunder Madakshira, Vice President, Marketing and Communication, SAP India. He has held leadership roles in the sales and marketing functions in Unilever, Infosys, and Wipro before his current role. His areas of focus at SAP are brand management, building influencer relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome him with a huge round of applause, please.
Okay. Good afternoon to all of you. I always knew Coimbatore for a lot of energy. I worked for 5 years in a company called Caterpillar, and that brought me to this beautiful city every time, and I've always seen some great energy from this place. So can we have a good afternoon very loudly? Good afternoon to all of you. The challenge with coming in after 4-5 sessions are done is that whatever you say tends to be a repetition of whatever already been spoken. Sugandha spoke about a lot of topics that actually I had planned to speak, but anyway, I will try and make it as interesting. Now all of you would realize that this session has been kept just before lunch for the obvious reason. That's why I changed the title to sauce and other things. But it's always a great challenge either coming in just before lunch or after lunch. I don't know which is the bigger challenge, because if you overshoot and that timer, somebody should start the timer. The timer, because I'm a marketing guy. So the challenge with a marketing guy is if you start speaking, there's a big problem. So once there was an illustrious speaker who was called on stage, and he said that he was told that he was given 15 minutes to speak, and he started off by he spoke for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours. He was speaking for 4 hours. Suddenly he looked around the room and there was nobody left in the room. And he got down and he asked, only 2 people were left in the crowd of 400 people. And he said, why? I am very deeply offended. Why did everybody leave like this? And by the way, why are you here? They said, we are the organizers, so we have to stay and take the mic and all that with us. But all 398 people have left. So why did they leave? They said, see, we had given you 15 minutes, sir, but you spoke for 4 hours. You should, that's why people left. So immediately he said, you should have put a clock over there. They said, yeah, we have not put a clock, but we put a calendar over there. So at least you should have seen that and realized how much time you've taken. So I thought I'll share something. I'm from marketing and communications background. But I have always been associated with some innovation or the other in multiple capacities in different organizations that I've worked with. Currently with SAP, I work with SAP Labs, which is the R&D wing of SAP, and that brings me very close to the startup focus program that SAP runs. And that's over the last 4 years I've come very close to working with a lot of entrepreneurs and technologists who are in India and other parts of the world. But I thought I will spend some time getting those lessons that I have learned from these people. Some of this might repeat a lot with what Sugandha has said, in which case I will just skip over to the next point. So if you just look at how, the first point that I'd like to talk about, if you look at innovation as a sauce, I have believed it's got essentially 5 components. And the first one is defining innovation for a context. And let me sort of define what I mean. When you look at innovation, sometimes I have seen in organizations and in outside large organizations, even in some very small organizations, you do have this challenge where a group of people are brought in from all over the place and just put into one single place or one single sub-organization or a team, and they're asked to innovate, right? Now, sometimes these things work. Sometimes these things work very well. But most of the times, if innovation is not monitored, right, does not have a particular purpose and a timeline, then there is a possibility that this innovation will actually go nowhere, right? I think we touched upon a few examples of that nature where if you have not really defined what you want out of your innovation process, that might not lead to what you have thought in your mind. Of course, it requires a lot of openness. Innovation cannot be, I learned a very interesting thing called innovation management process. I read it in some book. So I was wondering whether innovation can actually be managed like a regular process is. Honestly, I was not very enthused by looking at what was written there, because I don't think that was managing it, but actually crippling innovation. And one subtle difference, I think, which I'd like to make, and which Sugandha touched upon as well, is the difference between innovation and invention. Sometimes what happens is that a lot of people, especially people who are coming from colleges and who are joining new, have this expectation that they are going to be actually inventing and not innovating. So they do not find things which do not fall into the category of actually creating a patent overnight to be interesting. Now, not everything that we do can fall into the category of invention, and we should not make invention the enemy of innovation, because a lot of innovations can happen, but inventions happen once in a while, and they happen over a period of time, looking at several innovative steps that are to be sort of taken. I'd like to give an example. We work with one of our partners called Embrace. Has anybody heard about Embrace as an organization? Yeah, so I'd encourage you to look it up on the net. So as you know, there's a big challenge in India, which is that children who are born are underweight. They're traditionally underweight compared to what they should be to remain healthy for long, and that leads to a lot of infant mortality, and that is something which has to be prevented. So now we've always seen that we have these incubators of the kids. As soon as they're born, they're kept inside a chamber which keeps them at a particular temperature. Because they are weak, as soon as they are born, they need that warmth to remain alive till for a certain period of time. Now the electrical chambers which are provided, the minimum cost of those are about 25,000 rupees. Recently it has come down to 20,000 rupees. But the challenge here are twofold. One, because they are so cheap, right, they are of very poor quality. So sometimes when children are kept there, they actually die out of electrocution. And this is very, very common in rural areas. It's very common in rural areas that children die in those chambers. I don't know what to call them. The other thing is that in most rural areas there is no power supply. So even if the child is over there, they die because somewhere the child has not experienced the temperature which is required. So somebody called Embrace, it is run by a good friend of mine by name Jane Chen. She's from the Stanford Design School. So she came to India and she's designed a simple wrapper. It's a beautiful wrapper. It looks like a plastic wrapper. It can be dipped in boiling water. Now boiling water, you can get it in any part of the country. You can just have to boil water and dip this particular sheet inside that, and it can maintain a child at that temperature for a period of 12 hours. Now the cost of this is 2,500 rupees, and it is reusable. It doesn't have to be, it has got a set of chemicals which are there which have to be replaced once in 5 or 6 years. But if you look at it, the cost has come down from 25,000 rupees to 2,500 rupees, plus it is very safe to use because it's got nothing but a plastic wrapper. So this is a classic case of an innovation which has been done in a context, because the context is that Indian parents, most of them cannot afford to go to hospitals which have got the best facilities. The second thing I think for me is very important is to go from known to the unknown. And what do I mean? For example, if you look at Israel, we've always admired it as a country for innovation. Now, there are different theories going around it. One is that, because they are always threatened from military powers, they have been forced to be innovative, which possibly is also the reason. But what is interesting about Israel is that not only the defense and the technology industries, but a lot of industries are also innovative. For example, did you know that the best innovations in ice creams also come from Israel? I don't know how many of you knew that. That is because they are moving and learning from one industry to the other industry very, very fast. So some of the best innovations in one industry come typically from another industry. If you actually see how innovations are happening. It will not come if you are learning within the same industry. So if the software industry has to learn something new, probably it has to go to mechanical engineering industries or other traditional forms of engineering to learn new things from those industries. And that is where I think the challenge will come. If you just look at the ecosystem which is in India, that is there, of companies, of institutions, of engineering institutions, it is all a state of perfect bliss that everybody is. The IT industry is growing at a certain percentage, the colleges are growing at a faster rate, so it has become a kind of a as ecosystem which is feeding into each other. And that is where it's like somebody said it's like a paradise, right? When we compare it to other more competitive environments, how do you create hunger in this paradise is a big challenge for all of us, because now we see that the industry contours are changing. The challenge is moving from services to products in many ways, and it's forcing organization to look at how they are going to be more innovative now than and in the future. The third one is about culture of accepting failures, right? And I think this is very easy to say, but very difficult to change, because it's too fundamental in us. If I became an engineer because, to be honest, because my whole family is full of engineers, not because I was dying to become an engineer, right? And what would happen? The challenge is really about social acceptance, right? Recently, I was in the valley in our Sunnyvale office, and I was interviewing somebody for a position, and I asked that person, "Why did you move out of your previous job?" He said, "I didn't move out. I was fired." So I said, "Okay, then what happened before that? Why did you leave the previous job?" He said, "Even that job I didn't leave. I was fired." So this guy has come and applied for a position of a vice president in our organization, and he has been fired 4 times, and he has absolutely no hassles accepting it. And he said, "Look, somewhere there I think I was not delivering what the organization wanted me to, and I wanted the organization to go in another direction, so I was fired, so no big deal." But can you imagine somebody saying that in India? Right? Probably people will not even tell their own families that they have been fired, because they are worried, isn't it? Will anybody go back and say that, "Look, I was fired"? No. If you move out of an engineering college without a job, that itself will be, many people feel is like getting fired, right? So I think somewhere there it's easy to say it, but I think there has to be some kind of a culture of accepting failure. And this brings me to another very corollary point, which is about passion, right? If somebody is truly passionate about something, I think that person will not be worried even if he fails, right? And one can excel only in an area which is about which he is passionate. Let's face it. I don't think one can keep on doing whatever he wants to do just to make a living if he was not really interested in that area. Somewhere life and all these things will catch up with that person and not do it. And for example, we talked about a culture of continuous learning. There was one incident that I am reminded of. It happened. My father was in the Indian Air Force, and it always took me to places where I could not learn Carnatic music. I'm a big fan of Carnatic music since childhood, but I never got a chance to learn. So when I was in class, just when I moved to class 11, I started learning. We moved to Bangalore, and that's when I started learning playing the veena. Unfortunately, what happened? Next year was class 12, and everybody said you have to focus on your exams, right? So I gave up learning the veena, and that left a very bad dent in my memory, saying that, look, once I've started and I could not continue, so maybe I'm not destined for this, and I gave it up. It was in a concert in Chennai that I was listening to Maharajpuram Srinivasan, one of the illustrious singers of the current era, and he was singing a song, and at one point in time, when he was singing, I just decided, no, I have to pursue this passion, right? Because this music is too ingrained in me, it is very, very important to me. Will I ever perform on stage? Probably never, right? Will I ever give a concert? Probably never. Will anybody listen to me? For sure, never. even if I give a concert. But it has not mattered, and for the last 10 years, I've been learning the veena, right? And it's made me very, very happy, because I feel that I'm able to pursue something which I'm very passionate about. And take my word, I've been able to innovate to a limited extent within, to give me satisfaction about that particular, about whatever I'm learning. I'm trying out new things. I try out new things at my job because I'm trying out new things at home every day when I'm practicing the veena. So I'm reminded of another thing, innovation again, about passion. There's a person who there's a challenge is going on. Coconut trees, there are not many people who are capable of climbing coconut trees, right? Because most people are not skilled, they move to urban areas, and that whole art of climbing a coconut tree is going away, which will mean that all the coconuts that we are growing will remain on the tree itself, right? Because nobody will pluck them till they fall. And that is clearly becoming a big challenge in terms of labor costs also. So there's somebody who's invented a beautiful coconut climber, which, his challenge is he can teach that, and even a lady, I didn't like the way he said it, so ladies don't take offense, this is what he said, that even a lady, I can teach her how to climb a coconut tree in 15 minutes, okay, and it's got a contraption, you put it'll ensure that you don't fall, you don't slide back. So it will keep going up and you reach the coconut tree, then there is a lever, you release it and you come down, right? Beautifully done. I saw the demonstration sometime back, last week in fact in Madurai, beautiful innovation, and it's foolproof. He has climbed thousands of trees, made other people also literally climb the tree to innovate. So these are examples of what he wanted to pursue as a passion, and it's an engineering college student who has done this. The fourth thing rather is about developing a strong ecosystem. I think we talked about it briefly. See, most people who are innovating, and this is an entrepreneurship and technology summit, most people who start their entrepreneurial journey start with the fact that they have an idea. They have a great idea which they are wanting to convert that into a product or a solution. The fact is that sometimes not all ideas can become innovations, because they are your best ideas. If they are not based on strong customer insights, then it will lead to failure as well, right? So everything, all of you have great ideas, we have discussed, we have seen some of the most brilliant ideas. Congratulations to all the award winners since morning. I think you guys have done a great job. But it's very important to understand that there are other aspects involved in taking this to the market. So while you're thinking strong technically, you should also think about how you're going to market it. How are you going to legally protect yourself? Is it going to become a business or not? I'm specifically talking about legal issues, because what I've seen is that many startups which are started by students especially are selling out to larger organizations simply because they are not able to they're valuing it. So they just sell it off at a very dirt cheap rate, whereas other organization, product companies which buy them are able to make millions out of this, and the people who lose out in the process are the people who started it. So it's very important to have a marketing and a legal and a business sense into whatever you do. And I think the last point that I would like to speak about is about academia and industry. I think we've seen that coming together. Now the big difference I find between the Silicon Valley and India is this fact that it is absolutely seamless. Most cultures, if you read the whole history of innovation and invention which has happened, there is no barrier left between the industry and the academia anymore. That is an ideal state to get at. Are we getting there? We are probably getting there, but we still have a very long way to go, because we still have seminars conducted called industry academia collaborations. So I've said that if anybody sends me an invite, I will decline it, because to me it's not collaboration. It is one. I have no idea about, I wouldn't like to differentiate. I think most people here are from an engineering background. I think I can safely assume that. Did you follow one statistic which Sugandha shared with us? It was a part of a visual which said that 81% of the doctors read less than 5 hours per month, right, Sugandha? Yeah. Yeah. So the statistic said that 81% of engineers learn read, not engineers, doctors. Doctors read less than 5 hours per month. Yeah? If you actually see the engineering profession and the way it sort of evolves, have you been to a lawyer's office? Yeah? Most of you are ashamed to say that, is it? It's okay to go to a lawyer, right? So if you have seen, even if you see people getting interviewed on television, what do you see behind a lawyer's? Books and books, journals and journals, right? Have you been to a doctor? Right? If you go to a doctor, if you see his desk, there will be, some journals, some ads, about new medicines which have come. There's something he is reading. Have you ever gone to an engineer and found books on his table? You will never find it. Because the last time he would have ever read a book would have been in the final day of the final exam of his engineer, and then it's the end. I'm not generalizing. There are great people who probably learn throughout their life, and that's what makes them probably what they are. But if you just look at it, most of us do not read after we finished our exams. And I have no idea. And we are talking about a profession. We talked since morning. We've been seeing how the world is dramatically changing. We are also seeing new methods of learning. All that is coming in. But how many people have that hunger to learn, right? And if that is not there, the lifelong period of studentship and learning will not happen. And that is why I say that people who are in the industry should very actively participate in academia. I personally like to spend at least 75 hours every year. That's just a kind of a number that I have, where I interact with the academia in the form of different interactions with the students, with the people, because that is where I believe that the real learning actually comes in. So just to summarize, I mentioned 5 points which I believe are the secret ingredients of the innovation sauce, which is number 1 is defining innovation for a context, meaning that we should not try and do something which is not in a context. We should understand the context, we should understand the customer, and then innovate. Second, we should move from known to unknown. The third thing is culture of accepting failures, building a strong ecosystem of support so that innovation will thrive, and lastly, having a strong academia and industry interface, and it should become one united effort to go towards innovation. So thank you all for your time. I think I share the same sentiment, which is that many illustrious speakers since morning, and we will see more during the day. But I think ICT, ACT also decided to invite one student of innovation, which is what I am, to also speak on this forum. Thank you all for the opportunity, and love to take questions. Thank you.
Q&A session.
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for your nice presentation. So my query is whether why all the innovations are not becoming an invention. Is it marketing is the only barrier, or is there any other barriers that preventing the innovations to inventions?
Right. So I think marketing will not make innovations an invention. Invention is, as it was already defined in the previous session, so I don't like to repeat it. They are different things, right? I think what I was referring to is that every idea cannot become an innovation. An idea has to have something around it to make it an innovation. So if you look at ideas which are then converted into a certain product or a service, it has to have a proof of concept, as it's called. It has to have a prototype. It has to be taken to the market. It has to be tested. It has to be accepted, and then it has to be sort of commercialized. This whole process needs to be done. So I think what is required is that there are enough people to help you through the journey. But it's important for innovators to recognize that just having an idea alone is not sufficient to take it to the market. That's what I was referring to.
So I request Mr. Ariharasudhan, Executive Director, ABT Limited,
Thank you.
and correspondent Dr. Mahalingam College, Pollachi, to honor the guest speaker.
I would kindly request all of you to fill up the first part of the feedback form and hand it over to the volunteer who will be on the near the door while you pass through, because that is the form which will be used for the next lucky draw, which will happen after 40 minutes from now, that is after lunch. So we also have few stalls. So now one is set by Park Institution, other one is by Sky-Fi Labs, other one is from Masterminds, and other two, one is from ICT Academy for Sky Campus, an online learning initiative, and other one is for ICT Youth Initiative. I would request all of you to go to the stalls to identify certain new things which is happening around us, which will benefit the academia. I would thank all of you again. I would request all of you to join for the lunch outside, and I would request you to come back in 40 minutes so that we'll start the next session with a big lucky draw. Thank you, all of you. May I kindly request the speakers, the chairmen and secretaries of the colleges to go to the first floor where there is a separate dining area for the chairmen, secretaries and the speakers.